All right, let's see here. Beautiful, beautiful people. How are you doing? Welcome to another live stream. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We're here today before noon, so welcome everybody. If you want to call this a morning stream, feel free to do so. We're going to send out some notifications. We are live. I don't trust the bell, but ring the bell anyway because you never know. Sometimes it works. We'll see who we get first in chat today, and while we wait on that, we'll go ahead and get my comments pulled up. Get everything situated. Again, I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about sensitization from one world to the next. From one world to the next. That's an interesting title. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to get into what I exactly mean by that in just a second. We'll let some people get in here first. We got, let's see, Kenneth first in chat. What's up, Kenneth? We got David. We got Mint. We got Sky. We got the Wolf. What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing amazing. So sensitization from one world to the next. We're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into that. Let me make sure I've sent out my notifications. I always make it a point to do this because, again, I don't trust that bell. Let's see. How you doing, Wolf? How you been doing, Sky, Mint, everybody? How are you guys doing? Challenging week, having to practice these new habits. Hey, retraining days, right? Retraining days. Fractual, what's up, dude? Welcome, Fractual. Hope you're doing fantastic. Hope you're doing fantastic. All right, guys, let's see. I don't want to start it just yet. I want to give it a little bit more time. Then we'll get into it, I promise. Just be patient. Moose God. All right, we're having some weird technical problems with my headset here. What is going on? All right, I think we got it. I think we got it. I'm not sure. Yeah, what happened? Yeah, I'm not sure. It's giving me some weird error message, but I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Now, anyway. Killing the training days. Absolutely, dude. All right, give me just a second. I'm going to check on this, make sure that we're good, because I don't want to start my rant and we not be okay. It might take me just a minute, but I'm going to make sure that we're okay before we get started, all right? Give me just a second, guys. Okay, can everyone hear me? Loud and clear. Yes. I think we're good. I think we got it fixed. Testing. Sorry for that. That normally does not happen. Testing, testing, testing. Are we okay? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Are we okay? I'll wait for, okay. Okay, you guys can hear me. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, guys. I wanted to make sure we got it fixed, though, before we started, because that would be awful for problems to pop up like mid-rant. But it seems like we're good now. Okay. All right, guys, we've waited around long enough. Let's go ahead and jump into this one today. We are going to be talking about from one world to the next, sensitization. So basically, a good way to sort of start this stream, this, whatever you want to call it, this rant, a good way to start it is a firm foundation. So that firm foundation is this, guys. I know it's probably been so long for you that it's difficult, right? It's difficult for you to think back to the past, to how you used to operate or how you used to be, right? How you used to think. But I want you to for just a second. Now, I don't normally, right? I don't normally ask you guys to think back to the past. But today we're going to do that just for the point of the stream. I'm going to get you to think back to the past for just a second. And it might be very difficult for you to remember, but I want you to try to think of a time, right? It doesn't matter when. Think of a time in your life, whether it's 2 years ago or 2 months ago or whatever. Think back to a time in your life where you felt just okay, right? You weren't so hounded by a ton of irrational thoughts. You didn't have a lot of negative thoughts. There wasn't a whole lot of anxiety involved in your life. You just felt quote unquote normal, right? Things would go on in your life. Things would happen in your life, and you were able to respond to them very logically and rationally. Right, so I want you to think back to that time. And again, it might be difficult for you to do that. That's okay. If you can't, you can't. But you can try to think back to a time in your life where you felt, a sense of peace. Maybe it was just one day, right? Whatever. Maybe it was 2 weeks. Maybe it was 15 years. I don't know. But I want you to think back to that time for just a second, right? Now, at that point in your life, you were responding to situations very rationally and logically. Oh, God, it did it again. Okay, hopefully this is not an ongoing thing. You know what? We're going to switch mics real quick. Give me just a second. Everybody be thinking back. Do what I said. Think back to a time in your life. Let me make this switch. Unplug it. There we go. Okay, screw it. We'll just make the switch. All right. We should be good. We're not going to deal with that for the entire stream. Anyway, has everybody thought back to a time in their life where they felt okay? Has everybody thought back to a time in their life where they were able to respond rationally and logically to situations in their life? Hands up, right? Everybody. Okay. Now, I want you to understand, when you go out of that into the world of sensitization, and this is the point that we're making in today's stream, when you go out of what's called the rest digest, which is the times when you felt able to be logical, able to be rational, able to respond to things in your life the correct way. When you go out of that into the world of sensitization, these are two completely different worlds. The problem is people don't see it that way, right? They think, this is who I am now. This is who I've become. This is the real me now, right? I can't see things rationally. I can't see things logically. My mind is just constantly sending me negatives, constantly sending me what ifs, and they feel very real to me. They feel like life or death, right? This is entering out of the world of rest digest, right? Which is where you head when you're healing, or is where you've been when you're healed. This is entering out of the world of rest digest and into the world of fight or flight. Right? This is the fight or flight part of the brain. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but when you are in the world of fight or flight, right? When you are in the world of fight or flight, all of your abilities, we'll call them abilities, all of your abilities to be rational about things in your life, whether it be situations, whether it be thoughts or feelings, your ability to do that is sort of overshadowed, or it is overshadowed by fight or flight, which means your mind is going to start to become very predominantly negative. It's going to be a lot of negatives. It's going to be a lot of irrational sort of thoughts and thinking. And you're not going to be able to see the positive side of things. Show of hands, how many people have tried to battle with their irrational sort of thoughts that are coming in and try to say, hey, well, that's, let me try to force my logic onto that. How many people have tried to do that and failed, right? It's like, no matter how clearly you can see something or how clearly you think you can see something, when you are in the world of sensitization, it's like you can't get that message across. Has anybody ever experienced that? Right? So it's like you have a very negative thought, for example, a very irrational thought, for an example, but you're in the world of sensitization. So you sit with that thought and you try to fight with that thought and argue with that thought, and you try to tell yourself all of the positives. You try to be logical with it, right? You sit there and you try to be logical with it. You're like, oh my gosh, my mind is sending me this thought over and over again. It's causing me so much anxiety. And then you sit there and you try to fight with it. You're like, oh, you know what? That's not going to happen, mind, because of this. And you're trying to argue with the mind, right? That's not going to happen, mind, because of that. And you're trying to force your logic onto a sensitized body and mind. And guess what happens? You don't ever win that, right? Even though you know somewhere deep down in your soul that you're being ridiculous, right? That your mind is being ridiculous. Even though you know somewhere deep down in your soul that these thoughts are just totally irrational, even though you know that somewhere deep down, right? Even though you know that somewhere deep down, it's like you can't get that message across. And that's a weird feeling, isn't it? So you're in a body and you're in a mind. When you step out of the world of rest digest, which again was what I was having you guys think back to earlier, a time where you felt healed. When you step out of that world and into the world of sensitization, you quite literally are not able to really force your logic onto the brain, right? So you can know that the thoughts you're experiencing are irrational, or you can know that there's no good reason for these feelings to be here, or you can know these things on an intellectual level, but it's like you can't get that message across to the sensitized mind and body, right? It's like, I know I'm being ridiculous, but these thoughts feel so real, these feelings feel so real, right? And I'm here to tell you that's normal. That doesn't mean you're doing something quote unquote wrong. That doesn't mean anything other than you've stepped out of the world of rest digest, right, healed, into the world of sensitized, right? So you freak out. Because the symptoms are intense, you start to worry, you try to fight the feelings off, and you do what Dr. Claire Weeks called adding second fear, right? Adding second fear. And of course, this keeps you stuck. You're not going to find any answers. Like, you can continue to try, right? Which is what so many people have done, but you're not going to find any answers. You're just going to keep going around and around in circles, and the nerves are just going to get progressively more tired. And I'm sure you've been there, right? I'm sure you've lived that. So the problem is not so much that you've entered into a new world, which is what we call sensitization, irrational thoughts, and everything seems like life or death, and these thoughts seem so real, and the intense feelings come, and the problem isn't that you have stepped out of the world of healed or healing and into the world of sensitization. That is not the problem, right? All of these things are not the problem. The problem is that instead of closing the book when you get to the chapter that says, oh yeah, this is supposed to happen, I'm in a sensitized mind and body. These thoughts are supposed to be really freaking intense. These feelings are supposed to be really freaking intense at times, right? I'm not supposed to have rational thoughts right now. They're supposed to be irrational. They're supposed to be predominantly negative and feel like life or death. This is supposed to happen. Instead of closing the book right there on, oh yeah, I expected this. This is what it feels like to go into the world of sensitization. Instead of closing the book right there and getting on with it, right, and just using that accepting inner voice, oh yeah, I expected this, right? It's an example of the accepting inner voice. Instead of doing that, right, and closing the book right there, people want to continue. They want to continue. They want to go down what we call rabbit holes. They want to investigate. They want to break out the microscope. They want to say, why this, why that? Instead of just saying, oh yeah, I expected this. This is what it feels like to go out of the world of rest digest, aka healed, into the world of sensitization. This is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be having a ton of negative, irrational thoughts. I'm not supposed to be able to be logical right now. My mind is just going to send me a bunch of illogical thoughts. I'm supposed to feel all these strong feelings. Again, instead of closing the book and being done with it right there and reminding themselves of that instead of obsessing, they go the other route, obsession. Right? So the book doesn't get closed. They continue to go down mental rabbit holes. It's obsession, obsession, obsession. I'm telling you right now, guys, I'm telling you right now that if from this point forward you practice greeting all of these intense, irrational thoughts, and yes, I know they feel like life or death. They feel real. I get it. That they're supposed to feel real. Again, we come back to the whole this is supposed to be happening thing, right? Instead of, if you would from this point forward, right, just say to yourself, this is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to have a ton of irrational thoughts because I'm in fight or flight. I'm supposed to have a ton of intense feelings that I can't really seem to use my logic against. This is supposed to happen. If you would just live by that attitude instead of going the mental obsession route, instead of going the route of coping methods, compulsions, all these things you do, breaking out the microscope, so to speak, right? And if you would, from this day forward, make your accepting inner voice something along the lines of, yeah, I expected this. Yeah, this is supposed to happen. Yeah, I can't see the truth right now. One day I'll be able to see the truth, right? I'll be able to be logical and rational, but I can't right now, right? So I expect that. I accept that. Right? It's a bluff. It's an illusion, right? It's a bluff and it's an illusion. It's the world of sensitization. And then from this day forward, guys, you practice the inner voice of, yeah, I expected this and I accept this. And you get on with your life and you live your life, right? Positive behaviors. You're living, right? You're doing things you would normally do, so to speak. If you would live by those two keys, which that is the two keys right there, to have the inner voice of acceptance, right? I expected this, right? And get on with your life, continue living your life. It wouldn't be fun, but you would heal. It wouldn't be fun, but you'd make progress. It wouldn't be fun, but you would rewrite your brain, right? You would show your brain, hey, there's no need to keep this going, okay? That's not an instant, right? That's not an instant thing, which is another area where people tend to get caught up, right? We want that instant gratification. It's not an instant thing, but I'm telling you that if from this day forward, you are able to keep that inner voice, right, and to keep those behaviors and close the book. That is a good way to put it today. Close the book on the whole idea that, oh, what's this mean or what's that mean? No, it's sensitization. It's the world of sensitization. That's all it is and that's all it means, right? And if you would practice that, I'm not saying you're going to be perfect at it, but if you would practice that attitude, that inner voice, right, you would make progress. But as long as you continue to break out that microscope, right, as long as you continue to break out that microscope and want to investigate and look into and figure out, instead of just accepting it for what it is, the longer you stay stuck in this cycle. Now, people do that for a very long time, right? People want to investigate and figure out for a very, very long time. Where does it get them, right? Where does it get them? It gets them nowhere. So at some point, guys, you got to understand that it's like entering into a new world, and that's okay. That's not the problem, right? Again, that's not the problem. The problem isn't that you're in this world of sensitization now. The problem is that you're not reminding yourself that you're in the world of sensitization and leaving it alone. That's the problem, okay? That's the problem. One could say you're the problem. Oof, nobody really likes to hear that, right? Nobody really likes to hear that, but one could say you're the problem. Not the fact that your mind and body is currently in the world of sensitization, and that comes with irrational thinking. You can't be logical. You can't see the positives of things, right? Blah, blah, blah. That's not the problem. The problem is you're the problem, right? Because you're not closing the book on that. You're not closing the book on the chapter that says, hey, you're in the world of sensitization right now, so all these things are supposed to be occurring, right? You're taking it a step further and a step further and a step further and a step further down all of these mental rabbit holes. That's the problem, right? Sensitization, not the problem. The problem is you wanting to take it a step further, you wanting to look into it, you wanting to argue with it, you wanting to figure it out, right? That's the issue. So I know, guys, right? I know how strong the illusion is. I know how strong the bluff is. I know when these thoughts and feelings are there and you can't seem to be rational and you can't seem to be logical, that you want to investigate, but you must remind yourself that you're unable to see the rational right now, and that's because you're in the world of sensitization, and that is okay, right? That is okay. At some point, we stop the fight, right? At some point, we stop the fight. At some point, you got to walk away and say, this is what this is, right? And you got to maintain that inner voice of this is what that is, and there's nothing I can do about it. At some point, that's facing. At some point, that's accepting. When you try to investigate and you try to wrap your brain around it, you try to figure out what to do, that's fighting, right? And as long as you're fighting, of course, we can't expect the brain to get the message, right? So again, kind of to sum this stream up, it's not the fact that you're in the world of sensitization that is the problem. It is the fact that you're not willing to let it rest at that point. It's the fact that you're not willing to say, hey, I'm sensitized, right? It's almost like facing the fact that you're sensitized. It's not the fact that you're in the world of sensitization that is the issue. It is the issue that you're taking it a step further than that, right? Your inner voice is all over the place with the research and the figuring out and the arguing, instead of just coming back to the facts. Hey, I'm sensitized, end of the story, right? I know these thoughts are going to feel real. I know these feelings are going to feel intense. This is a part of it, and that's okay, right? That's where the book, so to speak, as we've been calling it today, needs to be closed, right? All right, you guys, that was the point of today's stream. If you enjoyed it, please leave a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Another good one today, man. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I apologize for the mic issues I was having there a couple times. I don't know what the deal with that was. I'll look into that, and I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again in the future. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. I really do appreciate it. I hope this kind of helps somebody out there shine a light on what's going on, right? That way they're not so quick to jump into the figuring it out, which is just a lighter term, but it's the same term as obsession, right? I hope this maybe shines a little bit of light on that. But at some point, you got to make the choice to do that, right? At some point, you got to make the choice to do that. Okay, so you're going to deal with things like uncertainty. You're going to deal with things like these thoughts coming in that want you to investigate, and you want to investigate them. At some point, you got to make the choice to say, you know what, this is not the real me. This is a bluff. This is an illusion. And in the moment, I've got to keep myself afloat. Even when it's really intense, I got to keep myself afloat by reminding myself that I'm just currently in the world of sensitization. Right? That's what the inner voice really is. That's what the accepting inner voice really is. And again, I hope this stream maybe helps shine some light on that subject for people, right? Because there's still a strong habit that exists out there to want to take the investigation a step further. All right? So there you go, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see who we've got in chat. And while we do that, I'm going to go ahead and get some music going in the background here. Just some tunes playing. Let's see, what do we want to go with today? We'll go with this one today. Why not? I think this is a good one. Last time we streamed, we forgot to even turn us any background music on, but this time we're on the ball, man. We got it. All right. Let's see who we've got in chat. Ghost, the king of Halloween monsters. How you doing today, Ghost? I hope you're doing fantastic, dude. Welcome, welcome. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable temporarily. Yes, absolutely. And that's really what this all comes down to at the end of the day, right? When these intense thoughts and feelings come on, people, they are just so quick to go into the investigation. And I understand that completely, but that's really what it comes down to. Been stuck in my room for 10 days. Well, you're keeping yourself there, right? Nobody's keeping you there. No sort of outside force, right, is technically keeping you there. It's up to you if you want to get up and get into the positive behaviors and use the advice or not, right? It's up to you if you want to continue to adopt and practice that accepting inner voice of, okay, this is what it is, right? Sensitization, have to deal with it, but it is what it is. I have to deal with it, but this is what's going on, right? So you're telling your brain there's a problem. Exactly. And it's going to be up to him to decide not to do that, right? I know it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's going to be up to him to decide not to do that. Of course, I was, guilty of that. Everybody's guilty at that at some point. But now that you've got the advice and the knowledge, really, there's going to be, there's going to come a point where it's like, okay, you have to, at some point, decide that you're going to utilize it despite the way that you feel, right? Which I know can be easier said than done. But how you doing today, Fractual? Man, UK, you got to make the choice, dude. You got to make the choice. Nobody can make it for you, right? You can talk to whoever you want to talk to on Instagram, but they're not going to make you do it. You got to do it. You got to do it, dude. You got to do it, man. There's no way around it. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I've been there. I know what you're doing. You're laying there trying to figure it all out. You're not going to get any closer to answers. If you want to get closer to answers, the irony is the sooner you get living, the sooner you'll get closer to some answers, okay? And while you're doing that, while you're doing these little activities, you've got to start reminding yourself that this is anxiety talking, right? You've got to start reminding yourself. So the two main keys together, right? The two main keys functioning together. Definitely have been there. Definitely have been there. Sherry, what's up, Sherry? Hope you're doing fantastic with a little pumpkin emoji. How you doing, Sherry? Yeah, if anybody has any question, guys, now is the time to ask those questions. If you're new here, after we get done with the point of the stream, we always move into some Q&A, I guess you could say. A little bit of Q&A. A little bit of Q&A. All right, all right. Break the cycle. And that's really what it is, isn't it? That's really what it is, a cycle. Excited for Halloween. Yes, just a few days around the corner. What are you guys doing for Halloween? Anything special? Anything exciting? You can always come back to it is what it is. You can always come back to it's anxiety talking. And it doesn't matter if you know specifically what this is or what that is. You can always still come back to those words regardless and end the debate right there, right? Doesn't matter if you know specifically this, specifically that. You can always come back to words like that, right? You can always come back to accepting words like that. Now, as far as the behaviors go, that's just going to require effort, right? That's part of letting go, if not all of the part of letting go, is you got to start living again. That is letting go. The act in itself is letting go, right? There's no magical way to let go. You just got to get living again. That in itself is letting go, right? Does that make sense? There's no grand discovery waiting to be discovered on how to let go. No, how to let go is you take the action, right? And that is letting go in itself. Does that make sense? Finished gardening for the year. Yeah, I've been done for a while, Luis. How you doing, Ghosty boy? You gonna have a Halloween party, Sherry? Okay. Okay. That's where the words come into play, UK. That's where you come back to telling yourself the new accepting words. Now, of course, nobody can do that for you, right? You know, I keep saying that. People probably wonder, why do you keep saying that? It's because I've been there, and I know, right? I know that nobody can do it for you. You have to come back to the accepting inner voice, right? That it doesn't matter if it's this or that. It doesn't matter if it's this or that. It is what it is, right? Instead of getting so involved, you got to give your mind a break. You got to give your mind a break by saying, you know what, whether it's this or whether it's that, whatever. Whatever, right? Whether it's this, whether it's that, whether I can figure out A, B, C, D, whatever, I can still always come back to those words of whatever. I can still always come back to the words of, okay, it's anxiety, right? Even if you don't believe that, even if you think, oh, maybe it is this talking, or it doesn't matter, right? Crystal, thank you so much for the $10 tip, says you to Bob, Fred. Thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate you. Thank you. Can we get some purple hearts in the chat for Crystal? We are on a 200 and, what is that, 18-day streak? Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you so much. Get some purple hearts in the chat for Crystal. Thank you. Thank you. First tip of the stream. Let's get her some purple hearts going, guys. Thank you. Sky, thank you for the purple hearts. Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to say, you know what, it doesn't matter if I can specifically figure out the details of what this is or what that is. Is this me talking or is it anxiety talking? It doesn't matter. At any point, you can still come back to some new accepting words. Like, for example, okay, you know what, it doesn't matter. Anxiety's here or whatever. Maybe tell yourself, you know what, anxiety's talking, you know, but I know you're going to say, well, what if I can't figure out the details? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can figure out the details. It doesn't matter if you believe the details. At any point, you can come back to, I don't know, some sort of statement that you've chosen for yourself that sort of gets you, okay, less involved. You're not going to be perfectly less involved, especially not at first. But at some point, you start to develop an inner voice of acceptance. You start to develop an inner voice of, okay, this is going on, right? But that's okay that this is going on, because I know that this is going on, right? But I'll tell you, it's going to be really hard to use any sort of accepting inner voice, which, by the way, doesn't come with any sort of magic, right? It's just stopping the fuel. It doesn't come with any sort of magic in the moment, but it's going to be difficult to use that accepting inner voice if you're not living in, at least in little ways, right? Because you've got far too much time on your hands to obsess, right? You got far too many negative behaviors and you know, like compulsions and coping methods and whatnot. So it'll make it a lot easier, even though it doesn't feel like it probably at first. It'll make it a lot easier if you start with some sort of, I don't know, you could call it a to-do list, whatever you want to call it. Start with some sort of plan of action to get up and do a few things, even if it's just a few things at first, right? While you try to work on that inner voice of, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's this or that, right? Okay, it's here. Anxiety's talking. It's not the real me, right? You can think back to a time when you felt great because everybody has talked about that before, right? You can think back to a time where you weren't in fight or flight. That's the real you. So you can just remind yourself, hey, this isn't the real me, all these thoughts and feelings. It's not the real me. I'm just going to let it hang out, okay? And you can keep coming back to that. It's not the real me. It is what it is. Just let it hang out. You know, I can't see the bluff right now, but I know it's a bluff. And you're continuing to live, right? Wonder Bro, what did your inner voice say when anxiety was high for you? Thousands of different things, right? I bet I used so many different mantras and statements, and all of these examples I've given to you guys over the years, right? You're allowed to mix it up. Some of my personal favorites was, well, what I just said there. It's not the real you. Fractual, thank you so much, dude, for the $5 tip. Let's get some purple hearts in the chat for Fractual. Thank you, man. We're on a 218-day streak, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you for the questions. We are at 15. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Let's see here. Mint, thank you for the purple hearts. Sky, thank you for the purple hearts. Cher says, mine is a fucking attitude. Just keep living. Life is way too short. We deserve happiness. I had to learn I can't control everything. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Having the inner voice that says, you know what? This is what it is, right? This is anxiety talking. This is sensitized nerves. You know, this is the world of sensitization. I can't really see the rational side of things right now, and this is all going to pop off, right? And allowing to the best of your ability to let that pop off. What were your personal favorites? Personal favorites. I really liked reminding myself that it was sensitization. I really liked reminding myself that it wasn't the real me, and that when anxiety's turned on, my thoughts and feelings are going to be super irrational. I just liked reminding myself of what was going on, basically, right? I just liked reminding myself of what was going on. You know, so it's not like you don't fight with the specifics of the thoughts, right? Whatever the thoughts might say, and you want to fight with them. Instead of doing that, you just have the accepting inner voice, and the feelings too. You know, the feelings will come with the thoughts. You just have the accepting inner voice of, okay, this is what's going on. I've got a ton of irrational thoughts that feel very real to me, and they're supposed to feel very real to me. That's the thing. They're supposed to feel very real to me because I've got tired nerves, right? I've got anxiety. I've got these tired nerves talking. So they're supposed to feel very real to me. So really the accepting inner voice, or at least in my opinion, the most effective form of the accepting inner voice is just using your knowledge, right? Using your knowledge. Using your knowledge. And instead of being so quick to fight against the specifics, right? That's where people get in trouble. Fight against the specifics. We got to drop the fight against the specifics and just start saying to ourselves, you know, hey, this is what's going on, right? And that was probably my favorite way of doing it. Who asked that question? Style alert. There's also the aggressive approach. You know, there's adding a little bit of humor. It's whatever, as long as it gets you to stop the fighting so much. It really doesn't matter which route you decide to go with that, but but that is definitely one way that you can word that. What is the accepting inner voice? Of course, people ask that all the time. What is the accepting inner voice? Well, it's just reminding yourself of what's going on instead of getting so invested. Does that make sense to everybody? It's just reminding yourself of what's going on instead of getting so invested. So, for example, you've got like a really strong intrusive thought that's blah, 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 and it's causing a lot of strong anxious feelings, right? At that point, you can do the investigation, you can do the obsession, you can do the avoidance, whatever. Or you can say, wait a minute, that's supposed to happen. There's those sensitized nerves doing their job, right? That's supposed to feel real. That's supposed to feel like life or death. That's supposed to feel that way. That is supposed to feel that way, right? So the accepting inner voice, what is it? Question mark, the big question. It is using your knowledge to just float through the intense thoughts and feelings, even though I know they feel completely real. But see, that's the point. The whole time you're reminding yourself, oh yeah, it's supposed to feel real. It's supposed to feel like this, right? You get what I'm saying? So in my opinion, an effective way to use the accepting inner voice is just to use your knowledge. That's the accepting inner voice, using your knowledge, reminding yourself of what's going on, and then doing your best to allow that to play out, because you know what's happening, right? So, yeah, that's definitely one way, a great way that I would word what the accepting inner voice is. And while you're doing that, you're moving on, right? You're moving on with your life, with your physical behaviors. So, thank you, bro, for everything. Having a lot of successes recently. Hear your voice, always gather myself and keep pushing. I love it, Loop. Thank you for being here, dude. Appreciate you. The more you feel and accept, the more you tell your brain everything is okay. Yes, back to our old famous catchphrase here on the channel. Anxiety learns while anxiety is turned on. You got that right, Mint. You got that right, Mint. That's just sneaky anxiety mind being sneaky anxiety mind, right? So the accepting inner voice is using your knowledge to stay afloat while you behaviorally, right, get involved right back into life. This feeling is healing. I love it. This feeling is healing. That's a catchphrase that somebody came up with here on the channel. I forget who, but I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day, guys. And each and every one of you are capable, right? You're going to have days where you can't nail it, too. I mean, that's to be expected. You're going to have days where you can't nail it. You're going to have days where you do feed into a little bit of the BS. You feed in with a little bit of resistance. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. You just got to keep trying to build that voice no matter what, right? You just got to keep trying to build that no matter what. Some days are going to be a bit more intense than others, right? Who can agree with that? I'm sure you've all experienced it. Some days are going to be a little bit more intense than others. It's going to be, what's a good way to put it? It's going to be a little bit more persuading, right, on some days than other days. But you have to remember, you have to pull out that accepting inner voice and remember what's going on instead of getting too invested, right? That is the accepting inner voice. Remember what's going on instead of getting too invested. And you might have to remind yourself of that a lot, right? Some of those days are just really persuading, and you might have to remind yourself of that a lot. Luis, yes, it was you. It was you. It was you. I remember now. I remember. That was during like one of our morning streams. Oh yeah, it'll be intense at times, Crystal. It'll be intense at times. But again, you got to just practice pulling out that accepting inner voice, right? You got to practice pulling out that accepting inner voice instead of getting too invested. Now, it's still going to feel real. That's the point, guys. It's still going to feel like trash. You're still going to feel like garbage, hot garbage. That, that's going to happen. But the point is, you're not investigating into why you feel like hot garbage, because you're just reminding yourself of why you feel like hot garbage while you continue on, right? So there's less investment. That doesn't mean that you're going to instantly not feel like garbage, okay? So that's another, I guess you could say, sort of mistake that people tend to make. That's another mistake that people tend to make. Oh, I must be doing this wrong because I still feel like garbage. Well, no, you're going to feel like garbage for a little bit, right? The point is not to not feel like garbage right away. The point is that you're reminding yourself why you feel like garbage instead of getting so invested and doing your best to move on with the day with those positive behaviors, right? Show the brain the truth. So just a little common mistake that I see people make, and hopefully you guys can now start to avoid, right? Start to avoid making that mistake. I'm going to say same mistake because I used to make that mistake all the time during my journey. All the time. Nobody's perfect, right? It's a learning experience. It's in the mall today. Bad balance, chest, uneasy stomach. I'm not so scared of that. It is what it is. I bought a discount plant. The real life things, however, they seem like they mean danger. Those get me freaked out. But now when I'm in a much more sensitive place. So yeah, it really comes back to the point of this stream, right, Mint? that it almost feels like two different worlds when you're in the rest digest side of the brain compared to the sensitized part of the brain. But that's where your knowledge comes out, right? That's where you pull your knowledge out. Use that to your advantage to do your best to float with it rather than against it. And again, it's still going to feel like crap, but you know, the point is to not make that somehow instantly disappear, right? The point is to go with it to the best of your ability and practice going with it rather than going against it. Yeah, and that's a good point too, Lucy. You don't have to like these things, right? It's not about liking what's going on. It's just about understanding and reminding yourself of what's going on instead of getting too involved and wrapped up in the investigation, right? And the things like avoidance and obsession and compulsions and coping methods and all these negative things. What kind of plant did you get, Minty? You got to go out today after the stream goes off, remind yourself of what's going on instead of doing too much investigation, and do your best to have that positive behavioral day, right? That's the two main keys working together. Oh no, this is bad too. Oh, cool, this rocks. Anxiety learns while anxiety's turned on. Bum, 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 bum. It does not affect recovery, Lucy, as long as there's no, you're working on the resistance, right? You're working on the resistance because, let's face it, everybody's in recovery because they want to feel better, right? And nobody's trying to take that away from you, right? Just like Fractal said, you can dislike it technically as long as the problem solving doesn't follow, which is the problem for, it's the issue for most people, is that the problem solving does follow. Yeah, so definitely not, nobody's taken away the fact that you're in recovery because you want to recover, right? Nobody's taken that away from you. But just like Fractal said, as long as the problem solving doesn't go along with that, then you'll be okay. Music's so expensive, but this was a little rough, so I got it very cheap. Nice find. Nice find. Nice find, Minty. Absolutely, Lucy. It takes work, man. It takes work. It takes work. You got to think about it. Probably for most of your life, guys, you've been doing the opposite, right? Like, let's face it. For most of your life, you've probably been fighting against in some way, shape, or form, right? There's many different ways you can fight, but in some way, shape, or form, you've probably been fighting against you know, the way that you feel, uncomfortable ways that you feel that you don't necessarily want to feel. You've been fighting against them in some way, shape, or form, right? So you're going against, you're going against everything that you've probably done for a very long time. So it takes practice. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect, but you deserve it, right? You're not going to be perfect, but you deserve it. So keep working at it. You're going to have days where it's more intense than other days, you know? That's to be expected. That's to be expected. On my journey, there was some days where the thoughts were just like a mile a minute, dude, and they all felt very, very real. That's the thing. They all felt very, very real. They were coming with intense feelings, and they felt very, very real. They felt very, very important. And again, I can't stress this word enough. Very, very real, right? But at some point, you got to adopt the inner voice that says, you know what? It's supposed to feel like this. They're supposed to feel real. That's anxiety talking. That's sensitization talking. That's what fight or flight does. It sends you irrational thoughts that feel real, and it's really good at its job. That's why they feel real, because it's really, really good at its job. But there is a real you in there that would be laughing at these thoughts. You just can't see that when you're in it, because again, fight or flight is really, really good at its job, right? But see, you have to remember these things while it's happening. It doesn't make it necessarily suck any less, but while you're remembering what's going on, at least you're aware of the illusion, right? At least you're aware of the illusion. At least you're aware that, hey, this is what's supposed to happen when I'm in fight or flight. This is what happens when a person is in fight or flight. This is supposed to feel very real. See, it doesn't make it suck any less, right? Because you can't really see the bluff while you're in it, but you can remind yourself that you're in a bluff, right? Does that make sense? So it doesn't necessarily make it suck any less, but you are aware of the illusion while the illusion is happening, which makes you a little bit more able to allow that, right? To allow that to be. Minty, thank you so much, Mint, for the $10 tip. Can we get some purple hearts in the chat for Mint? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mint. I appreciate you. What does that take us to? Where are we at? 25. We are 25 on our tip goal, guys. We've got about 10-ish minutes left in the stream. We're on a 218-day streak at 25. We'll see if we continue the streak today. Thank you so much, Mint, and let's see who else. Mint and Fractal and Crystal. Thank you guys so much. So much. I appreciate you, beautiful people. Sky, thank you for the purple hearts, dude. Yeah, it's kind of like cutting your own safety net, Lucy. It's kind of like cutting your own safety net. I've seen way too many people, including myself. I've just seen way too many people come through the channel and start to live such better lives, right? So nobody is hopeless. Nobody's hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. I've seen way too many success stories for anybody to be considered hopeless. I don't buy into that crap. I've just seen it too many times. You got to think, man, I've been doing this for like, 6 years now? I've talked to a lot of people, and I've seen people at the bottom of the barrel, dude. I've seen stories, and I've heard stories, and I've seen things, right, where people come from the absolute bottom of the bottom, below bottom, and get to a point where they pop into the stream or they pop into my DMs and say, wow, dude, I'm living. Wow, dude, I feel like myself again. You know, I've seen it happen way too many times over the 6 years I've been doing this to believe that there's such a thing as anybody being hopeless. That just doesn't add up. Barack with the $5 tip. Thank you so much, dude. I believe we are going to hit this tip goal. I believe we are going to hit it. We're at 30. Thank you so much, dude. Purple hearts in the chat for Barack, Mint, Crystal, Fractal. Thank you guys so much. We're at 30. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. It can be easy at times to accidentally slip back into bad old habits, Crystal. That happens, right? I mean, after all, you have reinforced these habits for so long, and you know how the old saying goes, old habits die hard, right? Old habits die hard. So it's not a loss. It's a learning, it's a learning experience. It's definitely not going backwards. It's going forwards because you've got to learn. So a learning experience it is. A learning experience it is. I would be lying through my teeth if I told you guys at any point that during my journey I didn't slip up or make mistakes, right? Guys, I've looked for 30 years trying to fix. Nothing worked except this here and now. The two keys. Honestly, guys, believe me, and don't waste your life trying to work it out. Just follow the two keys. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem really at the end of the day, right? It comes down to that, trying to work it out, which is just basically all of those negative terms like fighting, arguing, obsessing. And again, that's where the accepting inner voice comes into play. Hey, this is supposed to feel real. These thoughts are supposed to feel like life or death. I'm not supposed to be able to be rational right now. Like, this is all a part of being in fight or flight, and I know that. And it doesn't make it suck any less in the moment, but I know that, and I'm reminding myself that I know that instead of getting too invested, right? Right? Ooh, that's a big one. And of course, while you've got that attitude, while you're practicing that mindset, you're also moving on behaviorally, right, with these positive behaviors. So yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, dude. I mean, Fractual just said he's been trying to figure it out for 30 years, and he's using the two keys now, and I'm assuming he's seeing the benefits of that, the progress from that. So, if you're looking for some sort of proof, which by the way, don't fall for the illusion that you'll ever feel ready. Just get started. But if you are looking for some sort of proof and you won't let that go, well, there you go. Just read that comment. Just read that comment right there. Just read that one. Just read that one. We made the analogy the other day that it's kind of like accepting that you have a sprained wrist is going to come with pain, and maybe on Monday that sprained wrist hurts a little bit more than Tuesday, and then on Wednesday it hurts again, right? And that's just part of having a sprained wrist. You don't necessarily like it, but you're kind of like, oh, that's part of having a sprained wrist. Like, I'm going to have pain that comes and goes and varies in intensity, right? But you don't think about it past that. You're just kind of like, anytime it starts to hurt, you're like, oh, that sucks. I don't necessarily like that, but I know what's going on, right? Right? And then you just try your best to have a productive day anyway. Nobody lays in bed and completely shuts down over a sprained wrist. So you get the analogy, right? Does everybody get the analogy? And I think it's a really important one. And if all you take from this stream is that analogy, then I'm happy, because it's such an excellent little saying. Because again, if you would treat the sensitized nerves, and I know what some people are going to say, they're going to overthink it, and they're going to say, well, yeah, but it's more intense than that. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the way that you view it, right? We're talking about the way that you see it. So if you had a sprained wrist and it comes with pain, you know why that pain's there. You don't like the pain being there, but it's there, and you're not going to shut down over it. You're just going to say, I don't really like that, but then again, I do have a sprained wrist, so I guess that, that explains it. Just like with sensitized nerves, you're going to wake up and you're going to be filled with anxiety, and you're going to have days where you got really intense irrational thoughts, and they feel like life or death, and you can't be reasonable. It seems like you can't be reasonable. That's okay, because you're coming back to the accepting inner voice that says, oh yeah, sensitized nerves, right? Like, I don't like that. It's not fun. I'm not going to have a party over it or anything, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. It's a big Tim 4. Mental stress does cause physical pain. Yes, did I miss a comment from Charles? I was on a bit of a rant there. Very fatigued to the point of barely being able to do stuff physically, all part of anxiety. Cleared by the if you've been cleared by the doctors, good to go. Twitchy, spasmy muscles, absolutely. Physical pain, yes. Fatigue, yes, yes. Big yes, yes. Big yes, yes. Saturday midday with Water Bro. What's up, Donkey? How you doing, dude? I don't really have thoughts other than, damn, this hurts. Yeah, dude, like I said, it's not about liking it. I don't expect anyone to necessarily like what comes with being sensitized, right? That's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to get at. The point is that you treat it like you would a sprained wrist. Shit hurts. You don't necessarily like that your wrist is sprained, but you don't question it past that, right? Does everybody get what I'm saying there? Show of hands. Everybody get what I'm saying there? You don't really, the reason I keep driving this analogy home so hard is because really it sums everything up I've been trying to say for 6 years. If you had a sprained wrist, you're not going to like it. I don't expect you to. But you're also not going to overthink it past that. If you got some pain, you're going to be like, oh, I got some pain because my wrist is sprained, right? And you're not going to like it, but that's pretty much all you're going to tell yourself about it, right? And you need to rinse and repeat that with sensitized nerves. You're not going to like it, but all you're going to tell yourself about it is, well, yeah, you know, my nerves are sensitized. I don't like it at all, but my nerves are sensitized. So of course I can't think rationally right now. Of course I have a ton of intense symptoms right now. Like, this is just a part of it, right? Just like pain is a part of a sprained wrist. There's nothing you need to do about it. It'll heal itself, right? Heal itself. So, you know. I don't know if going out in the heat of sensitization and you know, drinking a ton is going to help you. In fact, you're probably going to have a really horrible day tomorrow. I'm just going to be honest with you because I feel responsible to say that, right? If you're extremely sensitized and you add alcohol to the mix, don't say I didn't warn you, right? And then that doesn't mean, oh, plans are canceled, right? You can do something else. Donkey, thank you for the $5 tips. I'm sorry I missed your rant, Wonder Bro. I'll have to watch this video later. It wasn't as intense as the rants we've done the past couple days. I was a little bit more mellow today, I'll be honest. But it was still a good stream, nonetheless. And we got a $10 Cash App from David. David, what does that put us at? Is that tip goal? Almost. We are 5 away from tip goal, guys. 5 away. 5 away. Thank you guys so much. Donkey and David and Donkey, appreciate you guys. Get some purple hearts in the chat. Hey man, look, at the end of the day, right? You're a grown adult. If you're dead set on going out and having some beers, I can't stop you. But I want to just let you know, straight up, because that's what I do. I let people know things, right? I just want to let you know straight up that drinking on a heavily sensitized nervous system, you're not going to enjoy your day tomorrow. I'll just let you know, straight up, straightforward. With that being said, if you want to do it, right? I can't stop you. Does that mean all plans are canceled because I'm recommending that you don't drink? No, you can still do anything. There's a ton of things you can do that doesn't have to involve alcohol, right? But that's just me letting you know at this point you are an adult and what you do is what you do. Jennifer, thank you for the purple hearts. Sky, thank you for the purple hearts. Fractual, Crystal, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah, and that's not me trying to be like your dad. That's not me trying to be like your dad and tell you, hey, you can't do that. No, you can do whatever you want to do, technically. I'm just letting you know you've been in the stream for most of the day today, and it seems like you're struggling. We're going to get you there, don't worry. But I'm just letting you know it's not normally a pleasant experience when you drink on top of sensitized nerves. So, I mean, what you do with that information is up to you, but we love you. We're looking out for you. Donkey, thank you for the purple hearts, dude. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, my man. But I'm telling you, there is a point, okay, and I want to make this very, very clear. There is a point, in people's journeys where they can be so at the bottom of the barrel, right? So extremely sensitized that they need to get into the behaviors first, really. I wonder, bro, what do you mean? Isn't there two keys? Yes, there absolutely is. But what I'm saying is when I was extremely sensitized, I got into the behaviors first, and then I started to work on the mental stuff. At some point, that has to happen. But there is a point where you're just so sensitized that you can't wrap your mind around any of the mental work. So you just have to get up and get going, and that in itself gives you a little bit of a break. Not a ton, but just a little bit of an edge off on so much mental stuff, right? It's still going to be very heavy, don't get me wrong. But you get what I'm saying. So the behaviors came first for me because I just couldn't wrap my mind around a lot of the mental work. So I got the behaviors rolling, and that in itself, of course, positive behaviors help show the brain the truth. That takes the edge off a little bit in time. It gives you a little bit of a break from being so mentally invested, right? Even though you don't realize that at the moment. And then the mental work can kind of come into play a little bit. So then you start practicing things like being aware, okay, this is going on, and I'm practicing my accepting inner voice while it's going on. Does everyone get what I'm saying, though? For a lot of people, there is a point where you're just so sensitized that you just need to do the behaviors first. You just need to jump up and start doing the behaviors. Because it's going to take the edge off in certain ways over time, right? It's going to take the edge off in certain ways that make the mental work a little bit easier to do. So you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. And for me, that's how I started. I couldn't really wrap my mind around a lot of the mental stuff. I couldn't really wrap my head around it. So it was like, okay, well, I need to start somewhere. And getting back into living was where I started. Getting back into living was where I started, and then I had to do a lot of work, on the mental stuff later when it was easier to do. So if it helps you to have an accepting inner voice, right, here's some irony for you. If it helps you to have an accepting inner voice of, okay, today I'm going to focus on behaviors. So the thoughts are going, the feelings are going, and your accepting inner voice is, I'm just going to focus on behaviors, right? If that's your accepting inner voice, believe it or not, you're doing the mental work. Right? Believe it or not, you're doing the mental work because you're not invested as much, right? So if it helps you, because I know you're in such a deep place of sensitization, you can't seem to wrap your brain around this stuff. You cannot seem to wrap your mind around this stuff. If it helps you, make that your accepting inner voice. You know what? I'm just going to focus on positive behaviors. So the thoughts and feelings are there, and you just got the inner voice of, you know what? Just positive behaviors, dude. Let's just knock it out, right? So you get what I'm saying. If you're at a point where you're just so, deep into this sensitization stuff, it might be a good idea if you just start popping off with positive behaviors and just make your inner voice, okay, just focus on positive behaviors. Let's do this, right? Does everybody get what I'm trying to say with that? So, that is the case for some people. That is the case for some people, that it's best just to get into the positive behaviors and have the inner voice of focusing on positive behaviors. Winning, what's up, dude? Winning mentality, what's up, man? Yeah, sometimes that can be the best option. Hey, whatever you decide to do, UK, whether you want to go completely out, right? I don't think you have like a gore or anything, but if you want to go completely out, or if you just want to take a small step and, I don't know, take a shower, whatever you want to do, dude, we've got your back. And all we're trying to say is, like, it's never a bad time to get started. It's never a bad time to get started, man. It's never a bad time to get started. And it doesn't matter what you get started with. We're not concerned with what you get started with. We're just concerned that you get started. That's it. Right? And again, if you want to make this even more simple on yourself, and this applies to anybody who could be listening to this stream right now, if you want to make this even more simple on yourself, you could just have the accepting inner voice of, you know what? I'm going to show my brain the truth, right? Just behaviors. That's my concern. And ironically, when that becomes your accepting inner voice, you are doing the mental work. We're not going to tell you that because you might overthink it. But if you just have the inner voice of, I'm going to focus on positive behaviors and forget the mental stuff, then you're already having the accepting inner voice, and bada bing, bada boom. Right? So, there you go. There you go. Don't be afraid to mix it up. Either fix or forget, but when it's none of those, that makes me worry so much. Yeah, it's where the practice comes into play, man. Science, what? I think UK seen an article once that told him some nonsense, and that's what he means by that. I'm a problem solver too, man. We just have to practice. Yes, like I said, you're breaking habits that were probably engraved in you, like even before sensitization. I'm scrolling up now, see if I missed any specific questions. We're getting ready to wrap this one up in just a second, guys. Let's see. Yeah, it's just like the analogy that we made. I don't see any questions, by the way. If I missed it, just ask it again. It's just like that analogy that we made earlier, Crystal. Sprained wrist pain, sensitized nerves, irrational thoughts, worries come in, and, you know, feelings follow, intense feelings follow. But you know what it is. You know what it is, and you're just staying in that knowing. You're just staying in that knowing instead of getting so invested, so invested. If you were in rest digest, you wouldn't have so many of these irrational thoughts or worries. Your outlook would be rational and logical, right? But you're not. And it's okay that you're not. You just need to remind yourself that you're not instead of getting so invested. Instead of getting so daggone invested, right? Staying in the knowing, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. Lucy! That one scared me a little bit. I wasn't looking. Lucy, thank you so much for the $5 tip. That is tip goal. Thank you, guys. We're on a 19-day streak. 219-day streak. We're going to read over these names real quick here. We got Lucy, Donkey, Barack, David, Fractual, Crystal, and Mint. And thank you, guys, so much. I appreciate you. That is tip goal. 219 days is absolutely insane. Thank you, guys, so much. Thank you, guys, so much. I can pick up what you're throwing down. Yes. Yes, you get it, right? It's staying in the knowing of what's going on rather than being so bluffed and so invested. So bluffed and so invested. Yes, thank you, Lucy, so much. Thank you, Crystal and Fractual, for the purple hearts. Thank you, guys. 219 days. Insane. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Hour 15. All right, guys, let's start wrapping it up here. Thank you guys so much, man, for watching today's stream. I've enjoyed it. How are you guys liking the new thumbnail style? It's pretty cool, huh? I've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you leave a big thumbs up. Good stream, man. Good stream. I don't have much to say besides thank you. Thank you for everything. We're going to get out of here. We're going to let you guys go on. Oh, sorry. Burpee. We're going to let you guys go on with your day, Remember that it's just a different world that you're in with that sensitization, and you have to remind yourself of that instead of getting so invested of that while you carry on with those positive behavioral choices. I love you guys. Don't fall for the bluff. Practice not falling for the bluff, and I will see you all very, very soon. Stay awesome. Love you guys.